that um where I am today, it definitely is worth it. Now, how did I get to where I am today? Pretty much just by essentially being consistent as I can with tweets, threads, whatever it may be, and always thinking audience first, because that's, in my opinion, the easiest way to get followers, to write things that people actually care about, gain some value from, or are entertained by. So, I mean, if you want me to go more in depth on anything specific, let me know.
Yeah, so for sure. So like, picking up off what you just said at the end, which is, interesting because it's the reason, why we started the AMA. When you started creating content, what niche did you pick up? And like, you found that worked for you. I think, people might pick up something like it could be anything. It could be comedy, it could be analytics, it could be just threads. What niche did you pick up that worked for you?
Yeah, for sure. So in the beginning, so let's say January to early February, I was just writing about community, essentially just the importance of community, pretty basic in my opinion, and as well as gaming. So it was a mixture of community and gaming. And then I started experimented with a few threads. One of my first threads was about Meme Land a couple days before the captain's launch. Another one of my early good threads was basically covering the importance of community and essentially highlighting some of the best communities in the space at the time.
Mhm.
And that's sort of like when I found about the power at the time of threads, not only of threads themselves, but about writing threads that are about something that people are actually talking about, that people care about in that specific moment. Because tweets and threads, they only live for 24 to 48 hours. So if you're going to write about something and your goal is to grow, the most important thing to do to maximize that growth is to write about something at the time where people actually care. Um, so yeah, one of my first mega viral thread, I guess at least to Web3 standards, was a thread about Blur. 2 days before the launch of Blur, where I basically looked at previous airdrops and I gave people, and this is the value that made it go viral, I essentially gave people a playbook as to how to navigate the Blur airdrop, where it was like, okay, airdrops tend to dip right after they come out, peak a few days after, and then trend towards zero. And coincidentally, I'm not calling myself an expert by no stretch of imagination, but based on that, Blur paid out the same way. So people got a lot of value out of that thread. And that basically set up all my content for the months after, which is basically give people information they want right when they want it.
For sure. So yeah, like that makes sense. So noticing trends and capitalizing before the trend essentially pops off, right? So being smart enough to see it before it happens, essentially. Yeah, that's a good. I mean, I guess that works across a lot of social platforms as well. I think a lot of people tend to look where the trends are, and if they can capitalize before it actually pops off, then I think that's really a really solid way to build a brand. But instead of like talking about niche, what are some things that you would stay away from or try to avoid as an influencer? Because I think there's a lot of things that people might grow habits out of, or maybe people, look up to the wrong, thought leaders and might grow habits out of that. But, maybe some negative down talk or, threads that might seem like FUD or anything that's related to, anything that you would regard as something you would avoid, what would that be?
Okay, so the first thing I genuinely avoid dunking on anyone. Like, if someone's flopping or something flopped, like dunking, or I guess it's an extension of fudding, because my thought is that it's going to come back at you at some point.
Mm.
So you don't want everyone essentially waiting on the moment for you to slip up to then come and clown you. There's ways to um I would say if you're going to criticize something and make something that is considered a foot post, always come from the angle of, okay, this is what should have done better. Always come from the this is how I would improve it angle versus this is just garbage or whatever. So that's generally one thing I don't do. I also don't really engage in any form of content that relates to scandals. Um, so like I don't know, like there were a lot of comments and threads around the time of D-God season 3 launch criticizing D-God, criticizing Frank, like calling him whatever names, accusing him of farming royalties, and essentially they do perform very well because emotions are high, and when emotions are high, people love to interact, and that performs well with the algorithm. But it doesn't bring you any long-term value. It doesn't make people see you in a positive light. It doesn't make companies want to work with you, want to associate with you. So there's just zero point to doing it.
Yeah, for sure. And I've seen people that sort of build their followings around takes that could be sort of negative, and eventually they'll hop in a space that evolves around a certain topic where they try to voice their opinion, but a lot of other influencers or even just members of communities that are on Twitter might see this person as someone that's just negative, and someone that has built a following but just out of engagement farming, and sometimes voice that, and it sort of becomes clear to me that even though someone has a following of just engagement farming, or things that you might see as FUD, it's still, I think, in the wider broad picture, it's not as respected as people would think in the space. But yeah, good take, man. And I think it's interesting because like I personally, when I'm on Twitter, the content that I look for is the content that I can learn from, right? Like that's probably the most valuable Twitter content that I would say is out there. So definitely one of the reasons why we reached out. But another question would be, concerning algorithm. So I know algorithms are a hot topic when people talk about being an influencer or creating content. What are your thoughts on the algorithm? Like, are you someone who's really concerned about the algo, or do you just care about creating genuine content, or is it a mix of both? Like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, so that's something that I see a lot of people, like you said, lean heavy into, almost too much in my opinion. I mean, NFT God, for example, he talks about it a lot, and it works well for him because it's something that his followers are interested in, and it's something that people want to know. But at the end of the day, um, attention always goes where there is either some sort of valuable information, or there's an ability to make money, or there's some form of entertainment. So I do pay attention to the algorithm, but I don't obsess over it. I think it would be dishonest to not be aware of it. For example, I think I mean at this point maybe 2 months ago, threads were essentially nerfed by the algorithm as they sort of implemented long form posts. A lot of threads just died, and for a period I was struggling a little bit to find, okay, what am I gonna do now since I relied very heavily on threads for growth.
Mhm.
And now, essentially, you basically, I don't write threads as much anymore. I sort of switch over to long form posts, but the idea behind it is the same. So, okay, I'm aware to a certain point where I realize, okay, threads don't work anymore. Threads are being deprioritized, but I'm not obsessed over tweet cred or your social score or a lot of these things, or I don't know, posting at 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. I don't think those things matter too much in the long run because you're gonna be posting online for the next 3, 4, 5 years. So algorithms are gonna change, and you should
Mhm.
better off focusing on giving your audience to something they want to read.
Yeah, something that you could, scale, or something that's long term. I think the same, because it was a question that I had, if someone was coming up on Twitter, what route would they want to take? Would it be someone who wants to create, a bunch of, comedy content, or someone who wants to do a bunch of analytics? But I think if someone wants to go down the route of, I had this discussion with Abs. Abs was someone that is a gen holder. He, is someone that he loves to GM all the time. Reply to everybody constantly, and I think almost becomes a task in a sense. But I think it's interesting, to find that balance where there's content created, and there's a mix of algorithm boosts or whatever advantages you can take, but also taking time to create value, and bring content out into the space rather than just farm engagement. So I think it's an interesting take. But uh, that would bring me on to the next question. So besides doing what you did to bring yourself here, who are some of the people that you looked up to in the Web3 space when you first joined?
I mean, when I first joined the Web3 space, the two that immediately come to mind have to be very obvious ones, being 6529, Punk 6529, and Zeneca. At the time, it just seemed like they weren't very. A lot of people were, I guess, very loud, and they always seemed very calm and very intent on just delivering good information. So those are the
Mhm.
people. And I'd still say today, if someone is coming into NFTs and wants to learn about them, then those are the two easiest sources, the most approachable people to go to.
Got it. Yeah, for sure.
But
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
that's yeah.
yeah, I mean, other than that, like I mean, those two are pretty basic. Um, but other than that, I think like you have a ton of people in the space. Like I think most of the quote unquote alpha that you might get or things that you might learn are not necessarily from the biggest accounts in the space. So I mean I can provide a list of people. There are a couple people like your guys like Maverick, Wrong User, CC2 Ventures. I mean these are just names. I can add a few links in the chat in a second, but these are some of the smaller accounts that I think are just very focused on delivering quality information and are helping me level up a lot right now.
hmm Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's awesome to hear. And do you find that, coming up as someone who's considered an influencer, do you think it's easy to fall into a path of, maybe some mischief, a bit of grifting, a bit of, you know, a bit of this and that? Do you think that that pathway that, seemingly a lot of Twitter influencers take in the crypto space or NFT space, do you think that's an easy route to take once people start to build their following? People start reaching out, start to try use your own brand, or try to leverage that since they might not have that. Um, just sort of shady deals that might go on in the space. Do you think that it's easy to fall in that path?
Oh yeah, very, very easy.
hmm
I've seen a lot of people that, how do I put it, that sort of started creating content around the same time that I did, and in my opinion, they rushed a lot of things. Especially monetization, they focused on trying to extract, I don't know, $500 deals, $1,000 deals, one-time deals with people that are questionable just because they think, okay, yeah, this is awesome. I can, this is some sort of validation for the work I've been doing. Um, and focus way too heavily on that and do not do their like research and stuff. And I think it's like super important to only partner with people that you can actually stand behind because while being an influencer, quote unquote, is, I guess, I mean, it's a pretty easy job compared to a lot of jobs, as long as you know how to create engaging content. It can disappear very, very quickly because it's all based on reputation. So I think focusing on your image, if your goal is to sort of monetize your presence, is super important.
Got it. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. So like because I think a lot of people find it easy to just fall down that, you know, that grifter mindset, while it might take a bit longer for someone to do it, you know, in a legitimate process, you know. But I think in saying that, you know, having people like yourself come up and tell their story about doing it in that way, staying away from, you know, these sort of things, and bringing light to situations like that is important, because, you know, if people are coming up, then it's something that needs to be known. But you know, I think, you know, while there might be a lot of that in the space, I still have trust that, you know, the space will prevail, and you know, the good will outshine the bad. But moving on to the next question, bro. Um, while creating content, and you know, coming to into the position where you are now, what are some pros and cons to being an influencer? You know, as someone that might, you know, aspire to create engaging content, and, you know, might end up in the position you are, what are some pros and cons that they might be able to, you know, expect from that?
I mean, so the pros are probably pretty obvious, right? Like obviously it's very nice. It's it it's very appealing to sort of have the ability to have an audience to be able to capture attention on a regular basis. Even today, like I still feel very, very happy on a day where I posted something that goes really viral. So obviously that's a pro. The ability to earn an outsized amount of money is also there. Like I know people with 10K followers that are making legit 10K a month across sponsored posts on Twitter, maybe a couple advisorships, um, their newsletter. So there's a lot, like once you have an audience, there's a lot of ways for you to potentially monetize. Um, so yeah, I think those are two big pros. Like obviously as well, if I were to post on my Twitter now, hey, I'm looking for a job. These are the roles I'm good at. It would be much easier for me to stand out amongst the sea of candidates and applications that any position would get, right? Because I have an audience, I sort of have a living, working CV resume on my profile, so people can easily vouch for me. Um, yeah, so those are some of the pros. Regarding the cons, though, I think constantly needing to create is something that I even struggle with. Like, Twitter punishes you a lot for taking breaks, for essentially not constantly feeding the algorithm, not talking about trending topics. You get punished very easily. So I guess that's something that everyone sort of has to battle with, the constant need to create. You can't really take time off unless you schedule a bunch of content in advance, if that's your style.
Is that something that
And
you do sometimes, scheduling some tweets in advance to maybe counter the algorithm to not work in your favor?
I I- sometimes, but rarely. And the reason why is a lot of especially crypto is very hyper focused on the latest information. So a lot of the content that you post, your best performing content is going to be helpful while also being trending. So it's hard to, I guess, produce a piece of content in advance, schedule it, and have it perform like really, really well, because it's not gonna fit the time, or it's not gonna fit the context of what's happening right now. So most of the times I just have tweets prepped, ideas prepped, maybe around community, maybe around um I don't know, NFT utility, and there will be a topic that pops up, and I could sort of like form a story with the main idea I have saved and fit it to whatever the current discussion is.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it makes total sense. Yeah, that I appreciate all the honest answers to these questions. I think that's, you know, it's what makes these AMAs valuable. You know, a few people in here are actually people that do create content, so I hope, you know, people listening are, you know, getting value out of this. And yeah, thanks again for the honest answers. But while we're here, does anybody have any questions to throw at Hunter? Like, Another reasons why we did this AMA was that if anybody has some questions or aspires to be someone that creates content on Twitter, we'd love for you guys to throw some questions and have Hunter answer them. But yeah, how long has it been since from the start to now, Hunter?
Yeah, so around like 9 months, I was at like, I don't know, 900 followers in January. And yeah, I think I'm close to 19K now. So it's been definitely a rocky journey, but it's growth is still coming in. So I must be doing something right.
For sure. Yeah, there you go, guys. You know, even if it's a rocky ride, keep going, and from 900 followers to now, I say that's a success. So Nostradamus says, "Hi Hunter, how did you get into writing in general?"
How did I get into writing? I just started, if I'm being honest. Like it may sound silly, but I literally all I did was find a bunch. So there are a bunch of people, sort of like how NFT God talks about the algorithm. There are a ton of people, like Wrongs to Right, um, Devin Bush, James Welsh, and I can share some of those as well in a sec. That basically all they talk about is building a brand on Twitter, talking about writing on Twitter. And essentially, all I did was if I found one of their tweets good, I'd try to implement it in one of my upcoming pieces of content. And literally doing that every day, every other day, has sort of like made these rules very subconscious part of my writing now. So, I mean,
Mm,
if I were to look back on my early tweets, I'd probably cringe to be honest. But yeah, it's just implementing these small bits and pieces from these very good writers that are already on Twitter into my writing slowly over the last 9 months.
got it. So absorbing as much as you can and using that to your advantage. I like it, man. CMAX says, "How many hours a day do you spend on gathering and creating content?"
I would say it depends. Um, and for me, for the type of content I'm doing now, which is essentially breaking down something that's currently happening in sort of a long form post, whether it be brands growing, the Web3 brands growing right now, as I posted a couple of days ago, covering like Pudgy Penguins, Sappy Seals, and so on. I essentially look at what people are talking about, and what I'd use is I look at the daily roundups from people like B Check, Rug Radio, a couple other people. I essentially look at what they post every day. So, what are the headlines? I look at a few websites to see, okay, what topics are new or fresh. And my approach these days is, okay, can I tell an interesting story?
Yeah,
And if the answer is yes, then I sort of pick one of those headlines. I see, okay, I can tell an interesting story, and then I get to work. I'd say for a long form post, maybe, I don't know, I think I spend maybe around 3 hours a day creating content.
nice. By the way, that's not me coughing or sneezing. That's a couple people in the VC who don't know that they're hot micing. Uh, but yeah. So Elon Elon Barr Barr has a question. He says, "What kind of resources do you use for research?"
Yeah, I mean, in terms of data, I use analytics platforms like Helica Analytics is one. I use some Dune. I use CryptoSlam. I use DAP Radar in terms of analytics. And in terms of news, I mentioned a couple of them, like Rug Radio does a daily roundup. A friend of mine, B Check, does a daily roundup. I use websites like NFT Plazas, which does daily news. I use Daily Crypt for daily news, and I sort of have a then also a private list of people I think post valuable information where I don't want to miss their tweets, and I sort of check through their tweets once or twice a day to see, okay, what are they talking about? And so the combination of all those sources is what I use.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. By the way, but if you leave the VC and rejoin, you'll probably be able to hear again. If it's still rugging, I'm not sure what would be happening. But yeah, makes a lot of sense, man. You know, I mean, me personally, when I first started, I guess, making a presence on Twitter, I think what helped me most was keeping connections that I made early on with people, and using that to to leverage my own content. So if I have ideas, or if I have people that bouncing ideas off me, it might end up turning into something that I didn't expect it to be. So trying to be a one man army on Twitter, I think, was a bit difficult, but keeping connections that I kept close from the start definitely helped me. Um,
Yeah, 100%. Like even today, like I have a small, very small group chat with like 4 or 5 friends who also create content, and it's just super beneficial to like bounce ideas off of. Like, does this sound crazy? Does it sound stupid? Do you guys think I should or should not post that? And it's also just it just came from just mutually supporting each other on the timeline. You see them posting something you think is really good, you support them, you see their posts, just give them a comment regardless of what it is, just compliment them, tell them how it's good, just support people, and you'll see a few people sort of naturally reciprocate that behavior. And over time, that might lead to a DM, that might lead to a convo, and that might lead to, the possibilities are endless. So I'd also say it's like very, very beneficial to just support people, but also more importantly, support people in a way that where you don't expect anything back, right?
mhm.
Because yeah, people can tell when you want something. So it's much better to just support them and just leave it at that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like, and on that topic as well, I think it's important to mention to never like, obviously everybody has an ego, but like to not let it, get out of hand. You might have someone reach out to you that's got a question, or has a simple request that you might think you don't have enough time for, or you think you may be a bit too good for, and that person ends up becoming someone pretty big that could have been a lot of value to you or your network. Or who could have simply just been a good friend in the space. So definitely try to keep the ego small, and so many people are reaching out. I think that's important too. But yeah, I appreciate the honest comments. Um, does anyone else have a question, by the way? Because we want to make, like, if anyone here that is aspiring to be an influencer, like, feel free to shoot any questions. Um, but yeah, in terms of connections, like networks, who are some of the people that you networked with early on that you've kept this friendship with? Are there some people that we may know of as, just normal degens or traders, or
Yeah, so you guys maybe know Moritz from his weekly recaps. He's someone that I sort of grew alongside with. We both had like 3K followers back in February.
Mhm.
Um, Legendary.eth, you guys probably or maybe know. He's the sloth with the yellow background. On the gaming side, Raiden, Apex, Lamboland as well. I mean those are like like Shiv early on, who he hosts spaces with Whale, for example. Um, I don't exchange too often with Whale, but we sort of were around the same size for a while in the beginning, and then he went on this crazy journey, which is like super amazing to see. Um, But yeah, those are I guess sort of some of the content creators that I've seen 5 to 10x their following in the last 6 months.
Yeah, and feel free to link these people in the chat, in the PGVC chat.
For
If
sure.
if anybody wants to have a look at these Twitter pages, these are verified, certified by our man Hunter here. So, um, you know, feel free to link those. Cheers to G who states the obvious. You pick up connections that are random. Yeah, for sure, man. Like I think it's easy for people to just fade someone that pops in a DM and has a simple request or you know might might even want to just connect and network with you, respect your brand, and people. It's easy to fade that sometimes, but I think it's good to sort of sit down, think critically, and give everybody a chance.
And to that point, like people get busy. I don't think people are gonna hate you if you like don't respond to their message. Because I mean Twitter DMs are a hellhole anyway, like they're so bad.
Yeah,
Um, but as long as you're not mean to them, you can always come back to them at a later date. Like I've had people air my DMs for 6 months and then come back to me, and you have to think of it logically. Like me being negative to them now is not gonna put me in any better of a position.
most definitely.
Um, so you might as well just try to get along. Maybe there's something you both can sort of like help each other with. Like you never know. It's just negative EV to burn bridges.
For sure. And you said it's freelance now. You're just sort of roaming the Web3 space, doing your own thing, and waiting for another opportunity to arise.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm finishing up some IRL stuff. Now, so I'm pretty busy IRL for the next 6 months. Which is I really want to like turn up a gear and really go hard with content. But I guess I just have to pace myself. That's just my personal journey, and maybe that's something for everyone as well. Is like don't be like me for a long time and compare yourself with other people who may be growing faster than you or whatever, because there's just zero point in that. Like everyone's in different circumstances. You never know when your moment's gonna be. Your best and only tool is just to be consistent. Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to do. Be consistent and take I guess be ready for any opportunity when it comes and take that by the horns.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, I haven't seen you jump on any like FUD trains ever. With your content, which is pretty cool. I mean, I find that genuine. Uh, a lot of influencers pretty easily fall down that path where a bunch of FUD comes up and they try to capitalize, but no, I respect it. And the Azuki PFP, was that like the pick for Azuki, was that like does the Azuki hit home? Is that like a community that hits home for you, or do you just mess with the art, or how did that happen?
Yeah, I was looking around for PFPs back when I started, and to be honest, it's purely it was purely a play on, okay, I just think this looks cool and it works really well as a PFP. And I think especially in the beginning, if you're up and coming, if you're just trying to get your first couple hundred followers, it's I would say it's pretty powerful to tap into communities. It didn't specifically happen to me, but I know of a couple of friends that essentially started off with um, a Moonbird PFP, for example, and they wrote a lot about moonbirds at the time, and it was sort of very easy for them to tap into that community to get easy support um, by writing about a specific community or just shedding light on a specific community. So there's that aspect to it as well. But for me, I just like the art. Even like even like today, where okay, some people aren't fans of Azuki because of X, Y, and Z. For me, I just like the art. That's all I can say. Um,
Yeah, respect for the honesty, man. Yeah, I think it's general knowledge that Azuki art is amazing. But it's interesting that you brought up the fact that like the power of community is also a big aspect of it. You know, if you're able to create content within a community and have that support, push it further, that's like a very important aspect. Which I think it goes hand in hand with creating content, right? Like you can be a content creator, but there also needs to be that audience that is consistent with their support. So yeah, interesting topics. And I think the most interesting that got brought up this AMA is probably like the algorithm and how concerned people need to be on the algorithm. I think that's gotten out of hand within Web3. Like, you know, people are just so focused on the code. You know, ever since NFT God started dropping those threads, I think people just started getting a bit too frantic about how you know, coding works on Twitter and just forgot how to create genuine content. And you know, I'm not saying that in any sense that like I'm some crazy content creator, but I do think that it's pretty like obvious knowledge that you know people are too focused on algorithm and not focused on you know what content they're creating. Um, but yeah, I think you know we've makes us. Um, but yeah, we brought up quite a few topics this AMA. If anyone has like any personal questions like related to Web3, uh, and you know being a thought leader, feel free to drop these down. Hey, Mr. Line's here. Mr. Line's actually, um, yeah, respect to Mr. Line. There's a lot of good content that he's brought out as well. Threads that I've loved to read. Um, but yeah, appreciate the honesty, Hunter. We got Shan in here. Shan just made an announcement saying he wants people to pop in. Was that you? Was that you making an appearance here, Shan, or are you a bit busy? I think that Shan the man's busy right now. Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, just yeah, nice. But yeah, any so I think since we've covered a lot of like a lot of you know algorithm, we've talked about niche, you know what niche we could pick up, you know what some pros and cons are. But you know, in saying all of this, what are just some like general tips and tricks that you might leave for people, you know, after ending a conversation with someone that you're giving advice to? What are some tips and tricks that you would leave them with? You know, some websites that they might use for content creation, you know, maybe some things that you create graphics with, maybe some, you know, just some tricks that you leave up the sleeve that, you know, you could possibly leave, you know, to the audience here.
Okay, so what are some tricks? There will be no real structure to it. For graphics, I use a site called Capwing,
Hmm.
Kapwing. It's not free. The free alternatives are obviously Canva. But I've gotten so used to it that it just works for me. I use it to do GM posts. When I do them, I used to do them for graphics, for my threads, my thumbnails. Um, so I think that's something that's pretty that's brought me a lot, like working on the presentation of my content. Um, yeah. Regarding so right now, another tip, long form posts are in, and I guess my tip regarding that is if you go on my profile, one thing you'll notice is that there is a show more button, obviously, when you do long form posts. And you want to make the sentence where the show more button pops in really enticing so that people obviously click, read more, and probably interact. So that's something to think about as well. You notice on my post, maybe I'll talk about a topic, and then right when the show more sentence pops up, the last words you read are, and the biggest mistake was, or, and the best part is, and like things like that. So that works very well for content creation or for the long form posts right now.
Hmm.
What else? Um, never, never overestimate your importance. So in writing content, never I rarely ever say I or say I'm giving my thoughts. If I do that, I just purely put it from the perspective of the reader and what they are gonna get from what I'm reading because I'm not that important. I think that's another topic. That's another like pretty big thing.
Yeah,
Um,
I get that.
don't focus too much on sounding smart because your readers are from all across the globe and most of them probably don't speak English or a lot of them probably don't speak English as their first language. So don't try to sound too smart. Um, there's a lot of respect to be given to someone who can break things down into the very simplest of languages. Um, what else? What are the tips? Yeah, I mean, like you're fighting against fight videos. You're fighting against engagement farmers. You're fighting against a lot of people that are taking attention away from you and what you're creating. So I'd say also put a lot of work in making your content not clickbaity obviously, but give people a reason right away to listen to you or to read your content because you're fighting against a lot of people out there and a lot of their tweets and a lot of their content.
For sure.
Yeah. So maybe I think those are like 3, 4, 5. Not sure, but um,
Yeah, man. Thanks for that. And do you find that you're pretty, pretty like wary on what is posted on your Twitter, like with obviously so much going on in the space and things can happen so quickly. Do you find that you take your steps a bit carefully with, because obviously some influencers also look to monetize their content, right? And that would involve some paid shills, some paid advertisements, whatever it might be. Uh, and for example, like the Stars Arena getting drained, or like people shilling that for a quick buck on their profile, or maybe you know, even whatever it might be. There was the nun trading bot that just was it was a free Discord trading bot that was shilled by quite a few influencers who are actually quite respected in the space, who had no idea that it could be rugged, which it did get rugged. What are your thoughts on taking these paid shills or paid advertisements, what people want to call it, monetizing their content essentially as influencers, and the consequences that can come with that. What are your thoughts?
um, it's a very very current topic for me specifically because it's something that I'm now spending a lot of time thinking about as someone who has yet to monetize, but
Hmm.
let's say I'm in talks with a lot of people right now. Interestingly enough, more than I expected. Um, to sort of align myself with them. And what I'm learning from my friends who've done a lot more monetization than I have, is that like transparency is super important. Like people actually celebrate the fact that you are getting a deal that where they know obviously you're getting some sort of benefit, whether that be tokens, NFTs, whatever it may be. People actually celebrate it. So be actually very transparent about the fact that you're going to be working with them over the next couple weeks. So that's one thing. The second thing is, and that's sort of why I have monetized yet, is I wasn't really interested in doing one-off one-off threads, one-off posts, just one-off chill content. I'm much more interested in seeing, okay, who wants to partner up for a 3 month deal, a 6 month deal. And those are the kind of deals that I've been working on where I'm like, okay, I don't need to think about promoting 10 different things. I just need to focus on doing my research on this one specific project and I can lock in a deal with them for 3 to 6 months and I'm not losing headspace wondering, okay, XYZ, what's going to happen here because I've done my research. I know they're at least a decent company. It's a decent team with XYZ track record. And another thing is also, and it was a worry that I have, and my friends were reassuring me, essentially saying that even if you partner with someone, if you partner with an NFT project, especially if you partner post mint, if you partner with whoever really,
Hmm.
like you are still not responsible for the company's success. Like even if the company goes to zero, like as long as you weren't shilling their token every day, or as long as you were doing things open, transparently, then people will know anyway what you were doing. They will know sort of like what the deal was. So they're not gonna blame you if a company goes down, because like it's the Wild West. Like companies are going down left, right, and center. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry about that too much. Just be transparent. Try to get longer term deals.
Hmm.
People who align with your vision longer term, and
Yeah.
yeah, and don't monetize too early. That's also something I'd say too. Don't rush it. Like you can always monetize later.
Gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, don't get greedy, right? Like, continue building the brand until you can find something of like like substance, right?
Yeah, because the way it works is the bigger you get, the better the deals. So
Yeah.
there's unlimited upside to waiting and continuing to grow, because the deals technically will only ever get better. And if you think you've missed a deal, or a deal fell through and you're disappointed, that's fine. But as long as you keep doing what you're doing, and you're good at generating attention, you're good at creating buzz around a specific topic, more people will come. Like even the depths of the bear market, there are more deals than there are influencers right now.
Got you. So JT has a question here. He says, doesn't that work the other way around? When engaging with the company, does expect a return as marketing money needs a measurement of success?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what deal you work out with them, right? Um, because a lot of people, they're looking for different things. Like some people, they may be looking for X number of conversions, but then you might have a referral link or something like that. But a lot of people, they're looking to, or a lot of companies that you've seen like partner with, I want to say like even the bigger names, like people like Zeneca, for example, or Whale, or Legendary. They just want some credibility actually, and they're not they're not necessarily looking for, I don't know, X amount. They're not looking for a 10% increase on their floor price. So it's all about, okay, what are you promising them, or what you're even doing for them.
Mm,
Um,
for sure. And I've noticed
yeah.
Zeneca started to do some like behind the scenes advisory now because a lot of people have tried to sort of use that name, the Zeneca brand to sort of push that project forward, whereas he would prefer that he works, behind the scenes and locks in that long-term deal behind the scenes as well, so that it's like easier for his brand and they're not using that, which is interesting. But yeah, I think you make some solid points, like being transparent, obviously, because if something does happen, you've made it transparent that it is a paid advertisement and that they're using your brand to, leverage that. But also what you said is also interesting, about making long-term deals, with obviously anything can happen in the space, but speaking to teams and finding, you know, products or ideas of substance and getting to know the team and being able to bet on that, I think is a bigger bet than taking a bunch of paid advertisements or, shills or whatever they are and hoping for a bunch of, monetized content that month. So I think that's a better bet for sure. I agree. So yeah, good
Yeah,
take.
and also look for people that are happy with you just integrating them into your natural content, right? Because there are a lot of people that do like weekly newsletters, and the only difference before and after their deal is that they mention one thing a specific project has done that week, or they shed some more light on it that they wouldn't do or wouldn't have thought of previously. So it's not all about just like very, very, I want to say like very, very artificial content where you're like directly saying this project is awesome because XYZ. There's a lot of ways, and that's also a skill that you can develop where you just implement it naturally into your content. If like looking at for an example, like Whale, since his um deal with Mochaverse, you'll notice, okay, in his news bits, in his roundups, maybe here and there. He just talks about them here and there. And he didn't do that before, and now that he's partnered, it just makes sense. But he's not going out there shilling by Mochaverse because probably that wouldn't work if we're being honest. We're in the depths of a bear, so like a pure shill probably wouldn't work either way. But yeah, a lot of ways to do it naturally and organically.
For sure. Yeah, respect, man. Thanks for answering. Yeah, and I agree, JT. I think Web3 and Web2 marketing is such a like to find that balance is difficult, and uh, I definitely think they're two different worlds.
Yeah, and I think regarding like what he was saying with metrics and ROI, like as long as you're like one thing I'm making very clear in the discussions that I'm having, regardless if they turn out to turn into a deal or not, I'm very obsessed with making the details very clear. What should I provide? What do you expect? And upfront as well, because you don't want anyone to feel like they have received a bad deal. You don't
Mm.
want anyone to feel like, I don't know, like you're wasting their time or their money. As long as expectations are set very clear in advance, then the rest sort of is out of your control, and there's no real point into fussing about the stuff that you can't control, right?
Gotcha. Yeah. So rather than like, sticking around and making fake promises, it's like you're leveraging your brand to give them a service, and they can expect that to be done essentially, right? Like there's no fake promises around what you can do with your brand, which, yeah, respect. Is there any do you have your eyes on anything coming up, that you might be working on, or anything
Um,
that we can expect from Hunter?
listen, I mean, I'm as at this point in sort of like this journey, like I'd still define myself as a student of the game, so I'm still working on
Yeah.
just making my content better,
Mhm.
being able to deliver more quality content at a higher frequency. And I'm talking here and there with people, want to see who I want to align with, want to also expand sort of like the content that I'm doing. Like I guess you can say it's a pretty well-known route, but things like a newsletter give you a different angle, different way to sort of like express yourself. So that's sort of like something I'm working on as well. But for the most part, I'm not too fussed about trying to do 10, 20 things. I'm still trying to get good at the Twitter game. Like I'm still trying to get good at writing tweets, writing long form posts, and then moving that over maybe to a newsletter. So it's still very much in its infancy. I'm gonna be writing for the next I don't know how many years, so I'm not
Yeah.
really in a rush in that sense.
No, nice. I respect the mindset, to be honest. Like, I think it's pretty common for people to go on Twitter and say, I need to grow my brand ASAP. I need 1,000 followers by the end of this month. I need to build my network this big by the end of that month. And it's like, it's definitely a very surefire way to burn yourself out, like especially if you're gonna come onto Twitter and be a reply guy without any sense of direction. I definitely think you will burn yourself out. Take care, JT, man. But yeah, it's I definitely think you need to find that balance. I respect your mindset that you've just stated now. Like there's no rush. I think it's like to tone your skills and talents is more important. Um, because I've personally I've been burnt out in this space too, and like it's that it's like having that rushed mindset it can be easy to fall into that, but it's not the right one to have. Um, so yeah, respect. And I'd love to get any more questions in here while we have everybody here. I'm liking the turnout, to be honest. Respect everybody that came in. But if anybody wants to ask anything more, feel free. Respect the balance between DJ and renal.
Hey Hunter, thanks for joining us, man. It's a dry, bear market and this thing, and so it's been really nice to have people come in and also to see that people are still alive, and so thanks a lot for joining us today.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's also something that I've been wanting to do more of, essentially just more speaking engagement, whether that be hopping on spaces or doing stuff like this, because I guess a lot of the times what you think you know that may be obvious to you is not so obvious to everyone. So you never know who can benefit from what you're saying. I'm a huge introvert though, so like speaking engagements, they do take a lot out of me, but I've been really enjoying this, so thanks for having me.
Of course, man. I think what you said is right in the sense, you won't know a lot of things until you actually spend some time or this thing with people as well. So yeah, I think people won't believe when I say this, but I was like extremely an introvert, until I think I forced myself out of that shell. And even till date, if you ask me, I would prefer to stay at home, watch some movies or something, than go out and be there. It's really hard to believe for people, but honestly, that's the truth. I think everyone who's seen me in Singapore or in other places or any of the events, or even me speaking, they wouldn't believe it. But honestly, inside, my choices are to stay at home, not interact with people, stay in my shell. So yeah, it is how it is. It's in I think not Web3. In fact, I think it's probably my the second half of my university journeys when I think I came or broke out of that kind of a shell kind of stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, sometimes you just have to, yeah, you just have to put those feelings away and do what's necessary, right? Or what you feel has more benefit. And a lot of times when you feel some sort of resistance, it probably means that it's good for you. So, um, yeah, can't shy away from everything.
Yeah, agreed. I think a lot of people feel those nerves before public speak. I mean, I feel like it would be hard not to, speaking in front of a lot of people and have them listen to what you're saying is a pretty big thing. But anybody that doesn't feel the nerves before they get up and speak, or anything around like involved around that, I respect. But yeah, I think being an influencer is pretty important to express those thoughts in a way that, like you said, it's as long as it's like broken down in a way that people can understand, and people can from all different languages can just come to and read and just learn and educate. That's probably the most important thing.
Yeah, and I also think like literally anyone can do it. Like, I'm I'm no one special. Like, I'm just a regular guy that talks about NFTs and Web3 all day. Like, anyone could be in my shoes if they just focus on writing as much as they can, ideally every day, a couple posts a day, and just focus on giving people. Just focus on giving without receiving. Yeah.
For sure,
I
man.
think that's I
Much
think
love.
that's very important. I think give before you ask has been, I think just to let some guys know here as well. It's been a while, but for the last 1.5 years, what we have been doing is, of course, assisting projects or been building network or relationship with VCs and angels that we never ask them for anything, but rather we're trying to help them either with fundraise or connects, etc. And now when we are doing our fundraise and stuff, right, it's been a much easier journey, where it's really hard for them to say no when you go back kind of stuff, right? But you gave them a lot before you asked anything. Obviously there are some who are like straight up bad EV for you and etc. But majority of them have been excellent. That's because when you first connect with the VC, the first thing people ask is, "Hey, can you fund my product?" But rather build a relationship, ask what you can do to help them 3 to 6 months or 8 months, and then when the time comes, put up your product or your idea, whatever that you're building on, and you don't even need to ask them. They come back and they're like, hey, can I help you with some kind of fundraise or something. So that's really one thing that's worked for us.
Yeah, and even if they don't come back and they don't reciprocate the help that you've given them, there's still ways that you can turn it to your advantage, right? You can sell to other people the fact that you helped X, Y, and Z. Maybe you help 10 people, maybe only three of them helped you back, but you can still sell yourself as someone who helped these 10 people do X, Y, Z things. Yeah, so there's always ways that you can make the best out of it. I think also not assuming the worst, so sort of like being naive in the sense that you're just gonna help them. You you expect, okay, sometime in the future I may get something back, but even if that doesn't happen, then that's just what it is. It's just a numbers game at that point.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I think the like network as an influencer is really important, and it brings me to this to another question. It's like, what about IRL events? Do you find much value out of, you know, projects hosting IRL events and bringing communities over? Like for example, we hosted NFT Bali, which we accommodated 40 plus holders at, and we had pretty much the whole team there and a bunch of holders of PG, and some potential influencers that were there that created content. But what do you think of IRL events? Do you find much value out of those?
I think um I don't think, okay, from the point of view as someone who I guess wants to grow a presence, wants to be a quote unquote influencer, I don't think you need them. And the reason being is, if your online presence is valuable enough, people want to talk to you. People want to get to know you. And they'll do it by any means. So that's the one side of it. But the other side I see very strongly in is that, okay, at the end of the day, like JPEGs talking to JPEGs, there's something more at the human layer when you meet someone and you connect with them in the real world. And there is value to that, and it is easier to trust someone that you um that you've met in real life and sort of had a chance to feel out their vibe. So I'd say you can go to a few, but I wouldn't obsess over it. I
Mhm.
think, like, I keep coming back to it, but as long as you're seen as someone who provides quote unquote value, and that value, like I said, it's either a way to make money, a way to save time, um, a way to protect yourself, or some sort of entertainment. As long as you do that consistently, the opportunities will come.
For sure. For
So
sure.
I think, yeah, you don't need to obsess over IRL events, but they are very, very nice, especially if you're in the position of someone like Shan that's working on a bunch of deals. But that's a whole different scenario than the one I'm in. So don't want to speak too much for him.
For sure. For sure. Definitely. This is a complicated question that nobody's ready to answer. Go for it, Smitty. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we can continue this connection, through with Hunter and PG. PG's got some plans moving forward. Maybe they can, shock the space a little bit. Maybe we'll see a post out of Hunter, who knows? But yeah, we'll hopefully, keep this connection, bring you on, frequently if you'd be open to something like this. But
Yeah, I think also a call is due. I think we had a quick chat. I think a couple of weeks back or something in DMs. I was supposed to go through with you what we have been doing, because a lot of what we have been doing has been hidden. Like not anybody to be blamed. It's purely us. We have kind of started liking this low profile kind of moves until things are needed, or when we wanted to blow up, because we have it's kind of like weird to say, but it's almost like been there, done that kind of scenario, and realized how hard it is to keep maintaining the hype and the expectations constantly, and it drains the team mentally, physically, and everything. Like our flows were once at like crazy high points. We didn't have any product in hand, and when we started developing the products, it was like, guys, do we focus our energy on the front end side or the development side, where it goes to a point where the floor or whatever, like the value of the NFTs come to a point where it deserves to be right. So yeah, I mean, like so what we have been doing, one of the main things is, of course, on the PG Capital side, one of the few projects, or the only one of maybe one or two projects in the space where we have brought up a lot of investment opportunities for our holders. Recent one, the Super Oracles, for example, we brought in like few months back when it was almost had like not any crazy investors or anything, and we've invested about $700,000 from our community, from just PG. And last week, they announced that they raised $25 million from Hash Capital, Animoca, and like A16Z and the who's of the space. And that's for instance, that's almost like a I don't want to say this, but it's a guaranteed ROI from where we brought in it for our holders. Like the benefits will obviously start to come out, but 25 mil raise Series A from the best of the best in the space is not a joke. But we as PG got it at like an early stage. The next one was Meta Gravity, which is invested by Basie. I don't know if you guys have been following, but last week Basie announced they took a stake in a metaverse platform or a framework, and we invested in that like maybe like 11 months back at like almost peanuts as valuation, and now it's like at 12x where Basie have gotten, and they've taken a significant position in that product. So this is what we've been doing on. So there is no whitelist fights or anything like that. Everyone can participate, every single holder. It takes time for people to understand pre-seed or seed ideas, but I think we'll get there. But apart from that, on the consultancy front, I think we have grown really close with Animoca. So this isn't made public yet, but we are the official consultants for Life Beyond. Life Beyond recently announced Horizon Labs and Animoca as their chief investors and market makers. So Horizon Labs is the market maker for Blur, ApeCoin, etc. So obviously, we brought up that investment opportunity to our holders as well, like 2 months back, and now Animoca has invested $9 million and so on. And plus, we got the consulting opportunity as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And of course, we have invested in multiple different products. Pixelmon is one of them. Pixel Labs, for example, has been invested using PG's Vault. Then it's Pocket Universe is another product. Xverse wallet, the largest Bitcoin wallet, and so on. So for PG to technically fail now, 10 different products have to fail heavily, right? So without burning our funds heavily, we managed to put our profits and other amounts from our consultancy payments, etc., in these investments that we are kind of linked with 10 plus products that are being used by a lot of people in the space. One or the other product, like either Pocket Universe is being used by you, or Xverse Wallet, or Pixelmon as a as an NFT that you hold, or you're bullish on the gaming side. So in essence, for PG or PG's treasury to fully die and fail, these 10 products or projects have to fail, where we own anywhere from 1 to 30% of the company or their this thing. So yeah, that's the setup side of things. And then we acquired a product, and where we are building the first Web3 entertainment platform. So that's the I think, I don't know if we've announced it before, but yeah, that's pretty much the thing. So we are basically in the process of launching the first Web3 entertainment platform, and entertainment not in like animes and videos, but entertainment in terms of games, um, you know, earnings. I'll stop here, but yeah, this is pretty much what's been happening, which is why we've been fundraising. We got major names like Sison Cap, the chief advisor of Sino Global. Sino has been the earliest investors of FTX, Polygon, etc. Multiple founders whose name I can't declare now, but We will be announcing them. CEO of Life Beyond, Animoca funded product. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much what's been happening in the back end. It's been a grind, but yeah, I think maybe in a month or so, I think things will start coming out. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean that I've been impressed with what you guys have been doing. I only recently found out about sort of like the I don't know how exactly it works, but sounded like sort of like the seed opportunities that you guys have been giving to holders, and that's something honestly that I also have a lot of interest in at this point.
Mhm.
Um and yeah, I'm gonna be paying attention a lot more going forward, and I've been also paying attention to the stuff that you've been mentioning in the your friend tech chat as well. That was also pretty interesting. I think it's like very cool what you guys are doing, and I think from an announcement, because I've been a holder since Mint, but admittedly I kind of I guess Discord as the main source has sort of like dropped down for me
Yeah,
personally, so it was lost in a sea of Discords that I joined um from the bull run. But I
yeah,
also see that you
understandable.
guys have yeah, like
I
it
haven't
was
been in the Discord for a few weeks now. I'm not even joking, and I feel kind of bad, but haven't been in even in my own Discord for like maybe 4 weeks now, and it's not that I don't want to. It's just that it's been like I think my team and some people know that it's almost like 10 to 14 hours a grind a day on calls and product development and stuff. It's sucking up so much of energy. So I get you completely.
yeah, it's that's also the sort of like the as the space like, sort of like shrunk. The gripe I had with Discord compared to Twitter is like on Twitter I can essentially get every single update I probably need. Um, and in Discord, you have sort of like these walled off gardens where you need um, to go and check every extra server, and a lot of people are pinging. And honestly, sometimes I wake up and I look at my Discord, and the amount of pings just overwhelm me, so I don't end up checking anything. Um, yeah, so yeah, but definitely from my side, very interested to see the side of you guys or like giving these opportunities to holders, and I don't know what the reception been has been so far, but I hope they're appreciative because these are pretty cool deals, at least from the ones you mentioned so far.
Yeah, that's what
Sorry, sir, I was muted here. No, no, go for it, G. I just wanted to just say appreciate it. But I think I'll have a call with you and run through since you have been seeing a lot in Web3. I'm happy to kind of run through the entire product that we are developing. It's not made public yet, but if you're keen to invest in it, more than happy to extend. But I can reveal the names and stuff. You don't need to do NDA and stuff. I trust you, but just don't make it public. So I'm pretty sure so far it's 100% success rate. And I even put up a tweet the other day. Anyone who's up for the challenge, just comment below. It's basically so I'm going to explain the entire product and the business model. If you can find a flaw or something where this business model won't work or is not bullish, I'm going to pay you guys at least a gen 2 or some dollars for your time, 30 minutes, or you guys are forced to invest in a product. And I think everyone so far who's taken up the challenge has failed and they've come on board. So you being the veteran, I mean, being an OG in the space, I think I want to hear your thoughts on the product and it's already developed as such. So it's not like something selling a dream kind of stuff. So it's almost there. A lot of them are using it. They don't even know that it's us. So they've been using it. So that's the best part about it. Like, I think 35,000 users already, and we just haven't announced it's us. At the end of the day, so that's pretty much the thing there. But yeah, let's probably have a you know call later. You don't need to take up the challenge, but just saying that you can. I
Yeah,
would love to really hear your thoughts on it.
yeah, for sure. That's something for sure. I'm super interested in that side.
awesome. Yeah, that's the spicy Shan alpha. Uh, not to be taken lightly. No, but yeah, it'd be great to like, stay connected, between yourself and PG. And that, there's, like Shan said, it might be on PG's side of things, maybe PG's lacking in one area where not a lot of people know what we're doing at the moment, but we do that purposely as well, where we're just sort of building quietly, but staying connected with you and keeping you updated on what we're doing would be great. And I can definitely guarantee that what Shan has packed in store to let you in on is definitely some pretty spicy alpha. So yeah, I'm keen to see how that conversation goes. But thanks a lot for coming on. Much appreciated. Like talking about yourself and your Web3 journey. Some tips and tricks, pros and cons. You answered questions. I'm pretty sure I mean, I'm sure you gained a few fans here, as shown in the chat. So that's good. And definitely want to try make this something that becomes frequent, or whatever it is. We'd love to have you stuck around in the community. So thanks again, man. And if you'd like to outro yourself, or have any like additional comments, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, obviously, thanks for having me. This is also a very fun experiment. I haven't really been interviewed in this style before, so I didn't really know what to expect. But you were a very good host. You made it very, very easy to answer the questions. If
Yeah, you did great.
anything, I mean, the only thing I really want to leave everyone with is, um, I guess, focus on giving more than you receive, um, and do it as consistently as you can. I I'm going to share something. I know you guys know Jack Butcher, but I wanted to mention early, but I forgot it. But it's his his I guess this PDF, this course thing that he has called Permissionless Apprentice. It costs like $1. But it basically it changed the way I view my interactions online a lot, where it's focus focus on giving. Just focus on giving people what they want. And opportunities you'll see, they just start coming your way. So yeah, like even someone else said, Nostradamus says it's the best $1 he's ever spent. Like for me as well, like the the documents he has in there, the interviews that he has in there, like it's super useful stuff, and it changed a lot for how I view myself on the internet and how I view my journey going forward. So that's sort of like a parting gift. I mean, a parting gift that costs $1, but still a parting gift. Um, yeah.
Thanks a lot for that. I think that's really humbling advice that people can take away. Um, yeah, thanks a lot for that. It's much appreciated.
Did he
And
really?
yeah, a humbling way to a humbling mindset to have, to give more than you receive. But yeah, thanks everybody for coming as well. We are looking to do this again next week, at the same time, and having a frequent town hall of influencers coming on for the influencer program. And we'll keep you guys updated on that. And most definitely, like Shan said, we'll keep in touch with you. I'm sure Shan's gonna reach out so you guys can win G influencer. Yeah, hopefully soon. I'm cooking something. I'm cooking something. But but yeah, we'll definitely keep in touch, Hunter. And thanks everybody. And if anyone wants to meme me before we go, let it out now. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys. Ciao.
Yeah, I'll keep in touch, Hunter. Take care, bro. G, take.
So, right, guys, any questions? It's been a long, long time. Um, I mean, I myself feel super bad, but it's been like I kind of like started taking some break from speaking and talking and stuff. I think those who have seen me in Singapore for Token 2049 would have seen how it was nonstop during the whole years. Who have seen me and the team. Yeah, it's been just a quick update. It's been extremely positive for us. Our fundraise is done, as in the strategic angel round is pretty much done. Managed to get a lot of strong VCs and angels on board. So was pretty intense, but also I think proved it kind of like proved how good the product is, that people are bullish and have to spend way too much time. Potentially, founders like when we from Ethica is probably on the. So I think just getting a mix of founders, VCs, and I've been connecting with even whales like Tonga, from Azuki and stuff like that. Had a 1 hour plus chat in Singapore and having a follow up call this week. And I have a call with Ray, Memeland, Kyong, Kakarot, Gilio from Pixelmon all this week. All right, so it's been an intense last few weeks, especially for me and Ken. We have been, kind of like pitching back and forth. I mean, like to I think almost all the key people that we feel that I think the only difference between any other product and ours is that we're not just racing from VCs, but we're trying to involve the founders and influencers also in. So this means they have a skin in the game for this product, and it's not just like some advisory nonsense and stuff, but rather actual investment. So if you believe in it, not the rando founders, but the founders that understand business and founders that understand the space. It's always good to have them on board, and only if they feel bullish. And luckily enough, I think so far, we've been having some really good run. So it can be kind of let's say frustrating again, like the space wise, or even like just with the PG side of things. um so um but like I think all I can say is that just you guys held on for this long. Just hold on for a little bit more. Um what to say, like I really I really wish I can reveal. It's kind of running in my head like so much that I really want to open it up and what's the product, etc. But just few more weeks, I think we should be good. But from the art perspective as well, I think we have finalized the art, for the merge, and it's unanimously been approved by a mix of, let's say, non Web3 people, Web3 people, PG holders. So they were especially the loud ones. I think all of them have approved it, and so far it's been a unanimous vote. So I think you will see some really big changes from for PG and PG's IP side of things and etc. As much as I wasn't a huge believer in IP, but I think we have got a solid opportunity in hand. The people that reached out to us to help us on the IP side, or the let's say the product side, is massive names. So hopefully that works out well. And yeah, that's pretty much it from the art upgrade. Is probably going to happen maybe December or Jan. A little bit of noise and December or Jan, I think we should be fine. Thanks a lot for that. I think one thing that's been good for us, good, and some people call it bad, is that PG has not got FUD, right? We have been transparent. Even Luca, for example, right now is going through those issues of his past whatever projects and experiences or whatever, Zagabond, Yuga Labs, Doodles, and everyone has gone through some kind of a FUD, or some kind of an external issues. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but PG, we have been clean from day one, from the funds and like salaries and our backgrounds and being docs from early on, etc. Not having a FUD means no noise in the space, maybe, I don't know. So it's either a good thing or it's a bad thing. But for me, I don't want that extra stress of FUD, of course, especially for the team. I'm happy and blessed that our community is not been fudding us or haven't fud us, uh, especially seeing other projects and founders what they're going through. I think yeah, we are in that this one, the top 1%, that sense of a project that's not being funded. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it from my end. If you guys got any other questions. Yo, I'm gonna delete this, man. He can't be leaking the. Nope.
That's some fire right there.
Yeah. So I'll just maybe just put this up right. Just for those who are listening, one of the products that we have solved and we are bringing as part of this, let's say, this platform, is something that's been like look not kind of been looked upon, right? So I think it's high time those who are listening at least to hear what product that one of the main products, not the only product, right, in this platform, the entertainment platform, what we are developing is the ability for people to have their crypto and NFT assets transferred to their nominees or families after their death in a decentralized, non-custodial way. So this market is massive. Like it's we're not talking in millions, but in potentially $1 billion+ market. So those who understand, they understand. For those who don't understand, it's fine. It's a matter of showing the revenues later. But tackling the NFT and the crypto community on from the safety side, plus the ability to transfer. Because imagine having all those assets in your wallet and your ledger, and none of your family members knowing about it. Something happens to the person, it's forever stuck, and it does not have a solution. So, anyways, so that's one of the key products in that platform. That's one of the, let's say, the semi bullish reasons why we got invested as well. It's not just an idea, but a product that's tested and mapped out first. No one has solved a decentralized way, and not a lot of custodial solutions are there. In essence, yes, we don't want to try and say that we are taking over Ledger, but let's say we take a small market share of Ledger or a portion of the funds that people put in Ledger. So that's pretty much one of the main key products. Because an idea is an idea, anyone can have an idea, and but what is important is how do you link that idea and execute it, plus have the right eyes, the right people backing or behind your product, right? Like, because we have seen so many times, um, you know everyone's got these amazing ideas, but it doesn't matter, right? Ideas can be like the best of the best ideas, but I say this often, right? It's not what is being dropped, it's who drops it. Unfortunately, like that's how it's a sad reality, that like a lot of products that have been dropped by smaller projects or people without influence has been copied on by major players, or even like at the same time, right? It's like at the same time there's probably development being done by two different people, but the one that gains the max traction or the attention is the one with either the funds or the connects or money, right? So I mean, not money as in like ones with or reach. So that's one of the key things to remember, is that it's not about the product alone, it's about how many users are on board already, having access to, we technically, based on our investments and the team that is backing us, etc., we technically have access to more than 300,000 people who are actively using one of our products or products that we have invested in. So that's not an easy thing to just get up, right? And some of our VCs have invested directly in exchanges like Bybit and OKX and other stuff. So like Pudgy Penguins, what Pudgy has done is not something, it's not a rocket science, but another project cannot just come and copy and be like, hey, we are making the best quality toys, go and buy us, right? You might have the idea, best ideas for the toys, etc., but a simple concept like this toy sales linked with a little bit of web3, can only be executed if you have the right connects. It's not just about the toys being cute. Like, it's not easy to get into, um, you know, any of these retail stores just because you have an amazing idea. So I think that's the key thing to keep in mind. Anyways, so yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Um, it's not like WebC. So we know about WebC, yes, and it's pretty much 100%. I wouldn't say 100%, but majorly different from WebC in a lot of ways. So yeah.
Thanks for the alpha, Shan. It's what time is it for you now in Korea, Shan? Oh, all good. No more alpha for tonight, looks like. Shan just jumped on a call. I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys jumping in the AMA. Like I said, we're looking to do this again next week at the same time. So we'll get another graphic posted for you guys to see, and we'll bring on the next influencer next week for a similar topic, just different journey, and probably different advice. But we'll see. So thank you everybody for coming out, and we'll see you next week.
Ice cream so good.
Yes, yes.